saw this and I was like, there's no way this is real because what? Look, some of y'all parents out there, I know you want to do right by your children, you want to help them out and everything like that, but I think you're doing more damage than good because y'all can't keep taking care of them to this extent. Like you have to cut the umbilical cord. Y'all do know that, right? Welcome back, YouTube. It's your host, Bruce GNT, and we're here to talk about parents kind of stepping over the bounds and going to job interviews for their children, or I guess holding their hand while they go for it, or whatever. I don't know. It sounds ridiculous, but let's jump right in.
Well, taking helicopter parenting to a whole new level. New data from resumetemplates.com shows parents are applying for jobs, joining interviews, and even contacting managers on behalf of their Gen Z kids, and they're doing it at high rates. Joining me now is Julia Toothaker, a chief career strategist with Resume Templates. Julia, I have to tell you, I was floored when I read this. Were you as stunned as I am about what you found?
I was. I could not believe how many parents actually sat in on interviews with their kids, either virtually or sometimes in person. That absolutely floored me.
So what are the employers saying about this?
I can't imagine that most
77% of Gen Z job seekers have brought a parent to an interview. What the fuck? What's wrong with y'all? Are y'all okay? Look, I know the pandemic was like, it did a number of some people, but was it that bad? And the reason I say that is because when I was on base, right, in North Carolina, things didn't really shut down like that. So we didn't get the full effects of what happened until we left like North Carolina, the state, and went to different states, and we were just like, why are people masking up? Why are people staying so far away from each other? Like, we were so confused when we would leave base. Crazy. Did it stunt y'all that much? Like, there can't be people my age and around my age group doing this because that's just crazy. Like, yeah, y'all wipe your own asses, right? Y'all do that, right?
employers are happy about it. I think that it really shows the lack of maturity in the kids and the Gen Zers that are doing this. But I'm sure that there are some employers, especially of smaller organizations, I think of those mom and pop shops that are probably okay with it, but I would not think that that is the norm.
And what's the dynamic that's triggering this? Are kids socially awkward? Are the parents nervous that their kids won't get a job? What is it?
I think it's all of that. I think, we have a generation that has been called the anxious generation. And I think that that's some of what we're seeing in this behavior from parents. But I also think that parents see what's going on in terms of getting a job and they know that it's a lot more difficult. And so I think they think that they're trying to help their kids, but when in reality, it's holding their kids back because they need to be more independent in the workplace.
I was just
It's funny that they say that because I don't think my mom would even offer to do that. And let's just say she did. I'd be like, no. Like, I'm grown. Why would you do? No, that's weird. That's so weird. And you know what's funny? I remember my mom used to always tell me growing up, not because you grew up one way doesn't mean everyone else grew up that same way. And I used to be so confused until like I joined the service and saw guys that didn't know how to sweep, they didn't know how to iron their own clothes, they didn't know how to do a lot of shit. And I was like, what the I was like, did your parents just throw you to the wild and say figure it out? Like, that's kind of crazy to me. Like, the things that I thought were basic, these grown men did not know how to do. Do y'all not have like that like thirst to go out and do something on your own? Because I've always been that type of kid where it's like I didn't like people doing things for me. I didn't like being up under my mother. I'm a only child and everything like that. But even still, I never moved like that. I couldn't wait to go out on my own and just do my own thing because I'm my own person. And I was reading on the side, it showed the percentages. Like Gen Z are letting their parents submit job resumes, do the assessments for them, taking them along for them to do their interviews, sitting with them as they do the interview. That I don't know. That's weird.
just going to say, if I'm an employer and the mama shows up at the job interview, I'm thinking maybe this kid's not ready.
Exactly. I think most employers are going to think that way, especially when you get into more of a corporate space. You have to be able to act independently. You can't have your parents speaking on your behalf. Maybe in some very unique situations, they can call in if you're ill or something happens, but that's very, very rare.
Yeah, very quickly, is this a sign that the kids should do what I did, get a job when you're like 13, 14 years old, so by the time it's time for a real job, you're good?
I think any kind of work experience for younger kids is helpful, but also we want them to be in school and be students and learn as much as possible. But I do think that parents need to be guides more than coming in and doing the job for their kids.
There you go. Land that helicopter and let them learn how to fly on their own. Julia Toothache.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that one. Look, I'm not a parent, and I'm not going to pretend to be one, but I don't think parents understand fully how much they hold their children back when they do everything for them. And I'm gonna go back to what I was saying before about how I met guys that didn't know how to do anything for themselves. It severely cripples them. Severely. I was talking to my homegirl and she was telling me that a brother of hers, like he's being raised a little bit differently than how she was raised because he's a bit younger. And she was saying legit he didn't know how to put like to replace a trash bag. I can't make that up. He didn't know how to do that. I've had Marines younger than me that I was in charge of. I had a Marine. His his mom was still doing his taxes, and I was like, "Dog, do your own taxes." He's like, but my mom always does it for me. I'm like, "Bro, you're 19. Do your own taxes, please." Like I'm telling you, we would get Marines that would come in and not say they were dumb or anything. Like, well, some of them were, but you know what I'm saying. But they just couldn't do for themselves. And I'm just like, what? And the thing is that gets me is that they don't have like a thirst to learn to do for themselves either. And me and my guys used to talk about that. I was like, yo, and it's crazy because the age difference between us and our younger junior Marines wasn't that big of a gap. But we just found it weird. We were just like, yeah, these newer guys that are coming in, they don't have that hunger. They don't have that thirst. They're just kind of like, well, I don't know. I'm not gonna learn how to do it. I'm not gonna try to learn it. It's like, what? You're not like eager to get out there and do for yourself. I could believe it. That's why I decided to do this video because I could definitely see it, but it still baffles me because it's just parents. Look, I know you love your children. I get it, but you got to let them go and you got to let them fall and fail on their own because if you don't, and you create an environment where it's too cushy because creating an environment where they could fail within your view and within like a controlled environment, like I get that. But there comes a point in time where you kind of have to let them go forth and fall down on their own so they can learn how to pick themselves back up. Because the last thing you want is a full-grown adult, man or woman, that doesn't know how to be resilient and pick themselves back up. That's the last thing you want. Because any little thing can knock them down and that's it for them. They're done. And no offense to that, but that's weakness. It's weakness. And you don't want that. Well, you guys already know the drill. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Comment down below, tell me your thoughts. Have you guys seen this? Or are you the person that has done this before? This is a safe space. Well, not safe, but it's a free space for you to say exactly what you want to say and everything like that. So if this was you, you could be honest and we could talk about it. Or are you someone that sees this a lot? Because definitely dealing with the younger Marines, I have definitely seen them not coming with their parents or anything like that, but have this I don't know how to do for myself mentality, and they have no intention to try to learn. So I've seen versions of this, but if you have seen this exact thing, let me know down in the comments below. We can talk about it. That's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.